Good evening, everyone. Sorry for the small delay. We're going to get started with this evening's board meeting. This is to advise those present at this May 8, 2018 regular board workshop/action meeting of the Board of Education of the City of Pleasantville in the County of Atlantic that notice was given on January the 9th, 2018 of the 2017 revised annual designation of the regular monthly board meetings. As required by the provisions of Chapter 231 of the laws of 1975, notice thereof has been distributed for publication in the press, the Absecon/Pleasantville Current, and the Mainland Journal, posted in the administration building and forwarded to the city clerk of the city of Pleasantville within the time required by said act. Roll call, Mr. Tompkins.
Mr. Barkley? Mr. Callaway? Ms. Couch?
Yes.
Ms. Mello?
Yes.
Ms. Sanchez?
Yes.
Ms. Thomas?
Present.
The time is 6:10.
Please stand for the flag salute and a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. We're going to start this evening off with the Washington Avenue School Voices of the Children.
Good evening, President, Dr. Alston, board members, Washington Avenue family, Pleasantville family. Good evening. Today I present to you Washington Avenue superheroes. Today you are going to see a tidbit of our spring extravaganza. We have our play coming up in June 13th and 14th. All are invited. We have approximately 165 students that are participating in our play this year, our drama and our choir club run by Ms. Junta and Ms. Gensimer. So please enjoy the tidbit, and remember, again, please come by June 13th and 14th to show our support. Okay? Thank you.
love, never seen a king of beasts with quite so little hair. Just a far rather uninspired day. You rather have a long way to go, young master, if you think. Now when I said that, what I meant was, but you don't realize. Now see here. Well, that's definitely that. I think it's time that you and I are right heart to heart. If this is where our monarchy is headed, count me out of service, out of Africa. I wouldn't hang about. This child is heading wildly out of wind. Not yet. Reach your goal and sing. Let's hear in the herd and on the wing. It's gonna be Simba's finest fling. Oh, I just can't wait to be king. Oh, I just can't wait to be king. Oh, I just can't wait to be king.
Thank you. Great job. Ms. Ruiz Cooper, what time is the play on the 13th and 14th?
On the 13th, we're going to have one at 1:30, and on the 14th, we'll have one in the morning and one in the afternoon. I will personally send you guys an email invitation.
Okay, thank you.
So you'll have the times, okay?
Great job.
And you can pick whatever time you'd like to come. Thank you.
Thanks. All right, thanks. Yes.
Should I have like a motion to move item 2.1 up to the first item?
Can I get a motion to move item number 2.1 to the top of the agenda?
Second.
Any questions?
Second.
Roll call, Mr. Tompkins.
Mr. Barkley?
Yes.
Mr. Callaway? Ms. Couch? Ms. Mello? Ms. Sanchez? Ms. Thomas?
Yes. No, can I get a motion to vote for 2.1, the ratification of the PEA union contract? Can I get a second by Mr. Barkley? Any questions? Roll call, Mr. Tompkins.
Mr. Barkley?
Yes.
Mr. Callaway?
Over.
Amen. What's his cousin?
I don't know.
Mr. Callaway, we're just going to hold your vote for 1 second. We just have to check something. We'll proceed with the balance of the roll call.
You can't hear.
All right, Mr. Callaway's vote is held. Ms. Couch? Yes. Ms. Mello? Ms. Mello, your vote is held for further review. Ms. Sanchez?
Yes.
Ms. Thomas?
Yes.
One, two, four.
We have 4 affirmative votes?
Yes.
We'll have to use the vote for document necessity.
For the public,
Ben.
there are 2 conflicts. Based on that, we have to invoke the doctrine of necessity.
Yep. Just to make it clear, there are 2 board members present tonight, at least one of whom's vote is needed to ratify the union contract. They have relatives working for the district. If we had other board members, then those board members would vote and they would be abstention. So what I'm going to ask is that the board members state the reasons why they cannot vote. We will then have a resolution invoking the doctrine of necessity. Okay, well, sorry, Mr. Callaway.
Ms. Mello, can you state the reason that you're in conflict?
Family member.
He,
Family member.
Okay. Mr. Callaway?
get the mic. Get the mic.
Yes,
Okay, you have a conflict because of a family member that works for the district?
Yes.
In the PA? Okay. Whereas the School Ethics Act was enacted by the New Jersey State Legislature to ensure and preserve public confidence in school board members and school administrators, provide specific ethical standards to guide their conduct. Whereas the School Ethics Commission has provided guidance in Public Advisory Opinion A398 as to when and where the doctrine would be invoked. And whereas the doctrine of necessity allows board members who are otherwise prevented from voting due to a conflict of interest to cast a vote. And whereas due to the absence of one board member plus a vacancy, and we only have 6 board members present tonight. And whereas we need 5 board members in order to ratify the union contract, 2 board members who are present have recused themselves from voting due to the fact that they have relatives working for the district. Where it is necessary to vote on the contract for the PEA and approval requires a majority of the full vote, the full board, at least 5 affirmative votes. And whereas the board members that were conflicted have stated on the record a specific reason for their recusal from voting, now therefore be it resolved that the doctrine of necessity be invoked. Be it further resolved that a copy of the resolution be posted at the board at the location wherein public notices are posted for 30 days and a copy of the resolution be provided to the New Jersey School Ethics Commission. So I'd ask now that Mr. Tompkins, that we have the roll call vote on the resolution first to invoke the doctrine of necessity.
Mr. Barkley?
Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Callaway?
yes,
Ms. Couch? Ms. Mello?
Yes.
Ms. Sanchez?
Yes.
Ms. Thomas?
Yes.
Now, for the record, we've passed the resolution invoking the doctrine of necessity. I would now ask that the 2 board members who had abstained initially be called upon to cast their votes with regard to the adoption of the PEA contract.
Mr. Callaway? How do you vote?
yes,
Ms. Mello, how do you vote?
Yes.
The ratification of the union contract is ratified for the record. We're working on the adjustments, and we hope to have the adjustments done for the record by the end of June. that will incorporate the retros and everything else associated with that. Okay, so we have the union contract ratified. As I said, we're working on tying in everything. It's going to take a little while. It's a lot of work. So, but we're working on it, and we have to have it done. I just want everyone out there in the public to know that it is, we're looking at every adjustment, we're looking at every retro payment from commencing from the 15-16 contract. We've completed the 16-17 analysis, and we're almost completed with the 17-18 analysis. So on there's a resolution that says it will take place September. However, we're adjusting things and we're moving forward, so I want that on the record. Madam President, I'd like to move, actually, Madam President, we have public comment.
Did you have something? We're going to move to item 1.7, public comment. First, we have Barbara Mason.
Hello, members of the board and audience. I'm one of the instructional aides from Leeds Avenue that was RIFT. I want you to know that I love working for the Leeds Avenue School, and I would like to know the specific criteria for my being RIFT. I wasn't told any reason. I'm not the most recent hire as well. So I'd like to know what the criteria was that was used in choosing who the people that were going to be RIFT were.
What you'll need to do is request it. It will not be given an answer tonight. Anyone who is not being renewed or RIFT has a right to request the reasons. So I would ask that you submit your request in writing at your earliest convenience.
Okay. I just also want you to know that I facilitate the Girl Power Club at the Leeds Avenue School, and I just had a meeting yesterday at the Community Food Bank to organize for the second summer the Let Us Eat program, which provides food supplements for our families during the summer. I'm a dedicated member of the Leeds Avenue family, and I'm involved in not only the school but the community. So I'd like you to think very long and hard about who you're letting go. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Ms. Z.
My name is Carol Subkov. I live at 102 Harvey Drive, Northfield. I've taught for 17 years here in Pleasantville, 16 years in Boston. I spoke once before, and I was encouraged. And then I was gifted with a T-shirt. And I'm sad about my T-shirt. And I was hoping that I wouldn't have to wear it again. Because standing before you, I would like to be proud and very thankful for my position. I love being a teacher. I love Pleasantville. It's got my heart, my soul, and I work like a dog for it. But I have to see something coming from the leadership. I was really pleased when I went online and I saw an article that I wasn't pleased with the article. It said litigation costly for schools, but training can prevent suits, experts say, and it was all about Pleasantville and the insurance and the settlement, Dr. Alston, that you were able to get, and that was answered by two people who gave comments after this particular article, and I was really proud of what they had to say. One's name is, what he uses is, or she, So Real Marshall. They said, I hope Dr. Alston understands how his employees feel when their rights are violated and they have to sue. Okay? It also said that Dr. Alston states in the article that the district is facing staffing cuts, which is a surprise to me since he just hired 2 new employees with hefty salaries, especially when you had people already in the system who were qualified for these positions. It said, I'm sure there will be more civil suits once the cuts are made if you don't adhere to the legal process. Another person who replied to the article was Ramross Montgomery. And this hit home. He said, or she, bad decisions, negligent hiring, nepotism, and vendettas all contribute to such high legal costs. I never heard us use the word vendettas before, but unfortunately it's very appropriate from everything I've heard talking to many of my associates here in Pleasantville. People work very hard and do a great job with the children. If we would do, or if you would do the job correctly, that can withstand the challenges, maybe there wouldn't be so many lawsuits. If you could no longer, maybe we can no longer afford to lead from behind, just when there is you create a tremendous problem and then you try to fix it, and it doesn't work. With the opening of the new casinos, we anticipate an influx of young families with young children. Now, if you want to bring up the stature of Pleasantville, offer them a great school system. That's why when people want to move to an area, and they demand a good school system. I teach pre-K. I stood before you before, and I told how devastating this year has been for the pre-K children. You uprooted some classes, uprooted many children, sold some children to another facility, and I'm thinking of next year. Are you thinking in advance? What do you plan to do with Decatur Avenue?
Excuse me, Ms. Z, your time's up.
I'd like to get an answer.
Your time's up. Thank you. Thank you.
Did I have 3 minutes or did I have 5?
3.
3. She can control the time. Okay, I'll be back.
Next, we have Joe Manetta.
Joe Manetta, PEA Vice President. 2 questions. Black Seal licenses. To my understanding, it's a state of New Jersey law. And if that's the case, can someone weigh in and provide me with the law? It's supposed to be a requirement, it's supposed to be a law. Can someone show me that law in writing, please? Who would like to jump in?
It is a requirement of the job description.
It's a requirement in the job description, but it's not a state law.
There are state laws applicable to having someone with a black seal at a facility.
So that's someone, not everyone, correct?
It is a requirement of the job that they have a black seal.
So that's a requirement that should have been back then, or that miraculously appeared within the last 3 days? Mr. Mr. Carroll, questions for you.
Mr. Manette, I'm not going to argue with you. You know,
I'm not trying to argue, I'm just asking you a
I
question.
told you, sir, it is a requirement of the job. I asked for a copy of the job description. It is a requirement of the job.
I'm not here to argue.
Well,
I'm here to ask a
When you make a
question.
comment like it miraculously appeared
Okay,
within the last
well, you
few
take it
days,
the way you want
that's
to take
argument,
it.
sir.
Okay, that's argument to
not a
you. That might be an argument to you, that's your opinion, okay?
No, that's
Now-
what the job description
Okay.
says. That's not an opinion. That's a
Okay,
fact.
good for you.
All right.
You have
Se-
an opinion, I gave you a fact.
Okay, that's good for you. Second question has to do with Mr. Jones, Tim Jones. It is my
You cannot
understanding...
comment on any
Okay.
individual personal, if you're head of the union, you should know that.
Okay,
Mr. Mineta, that is not the proper forum.
Okay,
You have no ability or right to
I'll wait till you're done.
raise a specific employee's issue at public comment. It's improper, you should not be doing so.
okay, could I talk about him without his name? About him being under investigation and they're trying to let him
You've already brought
go?
his name up.
Right.
Could I say that?
No. You already
Okay,
brought his name up. We cannot discuss an individual personal matter at public comment. We've said that many, many times.
okay, that's...
Any employee has a right to grieve any issue that they have through the
Okay.
proper channels. I think you're familiar with the channels,
Okay,
Mr. Mineta?
yes,
As a union representative, aren't you
I'm
not familiar?
I'm
This is not how you
familiar
do it,
with
Mr.
the
Mineta.
channels, okay?
Excuse me,
I'm
Mr.
familiar with the
Mineta.
channels, but
Mr.
he's going to
Mineta.
attack me now, and I'm supposed to stay
Mr.
here?
Mineta, you had two questions. You couldn't ask the last one, so your time's up.
Okay, but, Ms. Thomas...
No,
with all-
that's
Okay,
it,
I know,
Mr.
with all due
Mineta, that's
respect to
it.
you.
That's it,
He's
Mr.
trying to
Mineta.
attack
Thank
me, and
you,
I'm supposed
Mr.
to stand here and let
Mineta.
him...
Thank you. Thank you. Next, we have Priscilla Noel.
Good evening, Board. Good evening, everyone else. The last meeting, I didn't get an opportunity to sign in, but it actually helped me hear and see everything that was going on. A lot of times, all sides tend to not hear with an open ear or open heart or open mind, because we're too busy trying to think of what we're going to say without receiving what we need to hear. There's a lot of fault to go around. I've seen Dr. Manning, the music teacher, and how passionate he is about his craft. I wish that that was something that was offered throughout the district. There are other music teachers within the district that are not delivering acceptable level of service. If there can be something implemented where Dr. Manning trains or has a workshop to bring up to the level of standard that I would accept as a parent for my child, the other music teachers should provide. And I feel as though Dr. Manning is an example, and everyone should look, other music teachers should live up to that example. Electives should not be stressful. They should be a time for students to enjoy. At my son's school, South Main Street, it's a stressful time. Music is a stressful time. It should not be. It should be something that's enjoyed. Other than that, I'm still waiting for proof or correspondence on internet content safety. There was a recent scandal, I don't know if anyone's familiar with YouTube and what happened with YouTube and how that there are inappropriate videos that when children link to children content videos, there are also links to inappropriate videos that are masked as children videos. Again, I'm advocating for proof or something that I can see as a parent to ensure that my child does not receive the exposure that he received before, earlier in the year through bullying. Is there any way that I can see the safeguards for content filtering?
I apologize. Can you repeat your name again, please?
Priscilla Noel.
Ms. Noel, you're welcome to come to our technology office where we can show you the procedures, protocols that we have in place to safeguard all of our children, all of our assets. For example, we have Chromebooks around the table now. There are many, many procedures in place, but you're welcome whenever you want. You can schedule an appointment with me, and we can go there and we can take and review the entire system.
Okay, and also, is there something proactive that we can do for our students that will help them to be proactive in their own internet safety, as far as instead of being reactive as if, oh, you did something wrong so you're being punished, but you were not guided in the right way? So is there some type of program or type of workshop that we can throughout the year have for the students so they can avoid these pitfalls that put them in a compromising circumstance?
Today, the superintendent and I met to talk about some programs that he will roll out, and I don't want to do this tonight because that's really his venue.
Who?
But
I'm sorry, who you said?
The superintendent. We met today to talk about some of the things that we'd like to do and some of the things that we're getting together, hopefully with all the parents, getting signatures from the parents and meeting with them very soon. So
I would like a call, because I would like to be involved, because this
And,
is important to me, because my son is in this district, and as long as he stays in this district, I want to be hands-on and make sure that we all can benefit from it.
As I said, Ms. Noel, you're welcome to call me. As I stated, I met with the superintendent today. We talked about it, and he has, and the next meeting he's going, I'm assuming, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but I'm assuming that we'll have something in place to share with him, and he will share that with the parents.
Okay, also, one more thing. As far as Pleasantville, I've heard the kids, from the high school, and it was disheartening that they have to just make do with what they have. I feel as though that we have all the tools necessary to bring everyone together, because right now we're disjointed. We're all disjointed. We all want things, but we need to all work together. Administration, teachers, parents, we all need to work together so that when our kids, if they do decide to leave the district, they can go there and say, well, EHT is not offering anything more than Pleasantville is. I'm going to stay in Pleasantville. We have to be proactive about this, because right now we're failing. There is one student who came from EHT to go to the high school, and she's so far ahead that she couldn't even do anything in the school. And I know this for a fact. Academically, she's so far ahead that there's nothing for her to do at the high school. And that's sad. So I think we all need to come to some solution so that my son doesn't have to leave this district, because I'm the type of parent that I want my son to have a quality education, but I feel like
Ms.
I'm paying
Noel?
taxes that he should still have it here and not have to go anywhere else.
Thank you, Ms. Noel. But can you do me a favor? Can you give Ben your name and number so he can pass it on for when they do have that meeting that you want to be
Okay,
involved
I mean, I
in?
always give my number.
You could do it again. Thank you. Next, we have Jean Huffey. Excuse me, Mr. Newkirk, can you get that to Ben and he'll hand it to us, please? Yeah, Ms. Huffey, you could give it to Elise and Ms. Huffey, please, Ms. Huffey. Can you give it to Ben and he'll pass it? Please watch your step.
What you're not getting is the job description for the custodians, and it does say, the very first line, Black Seal license, all right? But this job description was written in 2015, and as everything in the past, when we change job descriptions, you're grandfathered in. So anybody who was hired prior to the year 2015 would be grandfathered in. The other part of it has to do with the training for the class. Now, we only have 3 boilers in our district, and that says on the training, it is the second page, right in the middle. And it says you need 5 hours a day, 5 days a week, for 24 hours per week. You must do this under a licensed boiler person. You have to apprentice underneath them. We've not done that at all in our training. None of the people in the past were able to do that. Now we have 3 boilers. One is Decatur Avenue, one's at South Main, and the other one is part of the Washington Avenue building, the old part. We have 16 custodians, all hired before 2015, that have termination letters. So that should not happen. It's a real concern. You can't get rid of 16 custodians who clean and take care of our buildings. And the state law says we need 1 person during the day and 1 person at night that has a valid boiler license. So before we go about getting rid of people in our district for budgetary reasons, we need to stop and think, what do they really do for us? These are custodians. They clean, they maintain our buildings. And we have plenty of Black Seal license that we've hired since 2015 to cover it. And we have plenty of Black Seal license prior to 2015 to cover our district. It does not make any sense. So I implore you to stop, look at what we've done with 44 people in our district, and make sure you're doing the right thing. Because I do not want to come in here and do Donaldson hearings and request all the reasons why and have things overturned and put these people through emotional stress for their jobs. Please reconsider this. Thank you.
Ms. Harvey, I just have a quick question. This paper you gave to us, was everybody entitled to sign up for these classes?
From what I understand, they were entitled and they were told they have to sign up for them, but they didn't receive the training that they were supposed to have.
So
that
this
5
training
hours
wasn't
a day.
optional, correct? It was mandatory?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have Tim Newkirk.
How you doing? Tim Newkirk, PEA President. First, I'd like to talk about the RIFs. There are certain procedures that need to be followed when going through RIFs, and I have concerns over whether those procedures were followed. Typically, past practice, we have RIFs. Somebody from the board comes and sits down with the union, notifies us in advance that that's going to happen, and that did not take place in this case. We were not privy to any list ahead of time, who was on that list, any reasons why, any of those things. So that is a concern, and I do believe we were supposed to be afforded that right. The other thing is we seem to have been given our HR director, who's been on leave for months, a raise when she's not even here. And then on top of that, now we're going to hire somebody else and pay them $500 a day to do her job. Does this make sense to anyone here?
Mr. Newkirk, first of all, for the record, the board has not approved our HR director for a raise. There's a whole process, and the process is that information is sent to the county reviews it, the county says yay or nay, as Dr. Bauer is fully aware of it, and it comes back here, and once it comes from the county, the board has a public hearing, and then they vote on that. So it's not been approved. I just want that for the record, that she has not, that individual has not received a raise.
Okay, but we did put it on an agenda, correct? Somebody had to think that was a good idea?
No, that's not, you're required by law to send up a document to the county. Her information was not sent up there for 17-18. That is, even the board ratifying the union contract, there's a process to that as well. That was a process for 17, 18 to send it up to the county. And we sent that up to the county because the union contract was going to be ratified. So our contracts, technically, for the 18-19 school year goes up in June, right after the budget submission and adoption.
Okay, so who actually proposed giving her a raise? I'm not quite understanding.
Mr. Newkirk, as you know, you cannot discuss individual personnel. Obviously, it's a specific person you're referring to. Say it again and again, they cannot discuss individual personnel. What Mr. Tompkins just said is it is not before the board, it has not been before the board, and there is no answer to your question. As you would say, crickets, okay?
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. That's it for public portion. All right, Mr. Tompkins.
Madam President, I'd like to, instead of going into finance, I'd like to move forth the HR agenda.
We're going to do separately.
I'm going to, the HR agenda has to have 5 affirmative votes, so I would prefer to go through that process and then do a consent agenda on finance and curriculum. HR first.
Okay. So can I get a motion to, or do you want to do, wait a minute, I'm sorry. So do you wanna
Madam
do,
President.
do you wanna do the which one's first?
We have to.
I have a question.
Do the whole agenda, right? So they're going to approve it, those two will abstain, then we'll do the doctrine of necessity, and then they'll vote.
No, I don't want to. We need to do HR 7.
Right. But full HR agenda.
The full
Okay,
agenda.
so you take a vote on the HR agenda. We'll start the vote, those two will abstain, then we'll do the doctrine of necessity.
Correct.
Those two. That's what you
Yes. Oh, I'm sorry. That's what we want to do.
Go ahead, Ms. Sanchez.
I have a few questions on human resources, but it requires to be, but
Let's make a motion to approve, then.
approve
the
what,
first and the
human
second.
resources?
Well, you want to approve,
Make a motion. Once the motion has been seconded, then you open it for discussion.
okay.
But I want a few things pulled. I want to discuss them in executive session before I approve anything.
Then you make a motion to table it to after executive session.
Okay.
She wants to question executive session.
Yeah, but
Ms. Sanchez, you have questions in regards to some of the items on in HR,
4.3,
correct?
4.6 and 4.7.
Go ahead.
Okay, rather than addressing the HR issues first, then, I'd like to have a motion for finance and curriculum together as a consent.
Necessary motion.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Barkley. Any questions? Roll call, Mr. Tompkins.
Mr. Barkley?
Yes.
Mr. Callaway? Ms. Couch? Ms. Mello? Ms. Sanchez,
Yes.
Ms. Thomas.
Yes.
And that is to approve finance and curriculum as a consent.
Do we have the school board candidate?
I don't see either one. First of all, I don't know what one looks like. Okay.
I don't have them.
Madam President, I'd like to approve the board minutes for May 8th.
Can I get a motion to approve?
Necessary motion.
The motion, I mean, the minutes. Can I get a second? Second by Ms. Couch. Any questions? Roll call, Mr. Tompkins.
Mr. Barkley?
Yes.
Mr. Callaway? Ms. Couch? Ms. Mello? Ms. Sanchez?
Yes.
Ms. Thomas?
Yes.
Do you have anything else?
You can note that there were 2 candidates received.
Okay, for the record, there were 2 candidates that we received petitions for the board. I don't believe either one's here, so that'll be rescheduled for the, the interview will be rescheduled for the next board meeting.
Okay. Okay, all right. We're gonna go into executive session.
Madam President, we have the HR agenda. One, what is your pleasure on this issue? Because I believe board members have questions.
I think so.
I don't know. No. First of all, they didn't say.
I think all of them.
Yeah.
All of them.
Yes, Eli, let's take it back then. Yeah, let's take it. Let's take it back. Ask some questions back there.
That's fine.
If you want to just pull the items that she has questions about, vote on the rest of it, you can, or you can pull the whole agenda.
Elijah, the secretary called.
Can I get a motion to pull HR into executive session?
Necessary motion.
Second.
Second. Second by Mr. Barkley, Mr. Tompkins. All in favor?
Aye.
None opposed.
Then I need to know what they are.
I gotta find it. Well, what number? Oh, I found it up there. I don't see it. Right here. I'm sorry, bear with us. This is a new system. Am I still online? I have an old agenda?
Just make a motion. I can just say something.
Can I get a motion to go in executive session?
Necessary motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Yeah.
None opposed.
For the record, Mr. Brenner, in addition to the HR agenda, which has already been referenced, would you please state the other additional items that will be discussed in closed session this evening?
We will be discussing a settlement that was previously enacted for Mr. Hassan and tenure charges against Ms. Hernandez.
Thank you. He was raised? Mr. Rice was raised? And okay, and there will also be discussion with regard to a Mr. Rice on a personnel matter.
Thank you. Can I get a motion to come out of executive session?
Necessary motion?
Second.
Who's that? Ms. Couch?
All in favor? Aye. Aye, none opposed.
Okay, there were several matters discussed in executive session. There was the Rice matter involving a Mr. Rice. There was also the HR agenda was discussed. Furthermore, we have two resolutions for the board to consider. The first has to do with adopting a settlement in the matter of Mr. Stanley Hassan. Mr. Brenner has prepared a resolution in that matter. We would ask that the board approve the resolution approving the settlement with Mr. Hassan. You don't have to read it.
Madam President, there's a resolution be resolved by the Board of Education of the City of Pleasantville and the County of Atlantic, New Jersey as follows. Whereas tenure charges were signed by the Superintendent, Dr. Clarence Austin, along with a statement of evidence served upon Stanley J. Hassan by a letter dated March 23, 2018, whereas the charges were never presented to the Board of Education for consideration or certification, whereas rather the Board of Education, Mr. Hassan, and his counsel settled the charges as evidence in the attached document entitled Settlement and Release, whereas said settlement has satisfied all standards and requirements outlined in the New Jersey Administrative Code and case law. Therefore, be it resolved that the Pleasantville Board of Education, State of New Jersey, authorizes that it approve the attached settlement and release in this matter. All right. The settlement is for Mr. Hassan to have his increment withheld for the 18-19 school year. It is my belief that Mr. Hassan has also agreed to that. Madam President, may I have a motion?
Necessary motion?
Can I get a second? Second. Any questions? Roll call, Mr. Tompkins.
Mr. Barkley?
Yes.
Mr. Callaway?
Yes.
Ms. Couch?
Yes.
Ms. Mello?
Yes.
Ms. Sanchez?
Yes.
Ms. Thomas?
Yes.
The next matter involves Damaris Hernandez. Ms. Hernandez may have found another position. It is believed she has abandoned her position, but we've not been able to confirm that at this time. Tenure charges will be filed. However, in the event we can confirm that Ms. Hernandez is no longer interested in pursuing a position with the district, then that process would be abandoned. But as of this time, we had no response when she was notified as to tenure charges. There's been no response. She's not here this evening. So the vote will be to prefer to tenure charges with the understanding that if we can be contacted that she no longer wishes to pursue the position and will give us a letter of resignation, then it would not be necessary to proceed with the tenure charges.
Madam President, I need a motion.
Necessary motion?
Motion by Ms. Sanchez. Can I get a second? Second by Ms. Couch. Any questions? Roll call, Mr. Tompkins.
Mr. Barkley?
Yes.
Mr. Callaway?
Yes.
Ms. Couch? Ms. Mello?
Yes.
Ms. Sanchez?
Yes.
Ms. Thomas?
Yes.
Yeah, that was all approved. Madam President, I need a motion to,
Wait a minute, Mr. Tompkins, how about facilities?
that's what I was,
Oh, okay.
Madam President, I need a motion to approve the facility usage.
Can I get a motion?
Necessary motion?
Can I get a second? Second
Second.
by Ms. Couch. Any questions? Roll call, Mr. Tompkins.
Mr. Barkley?
Yes.
Mr. Callaway? Ms. Couch? Ms. Mello? Ms. Sanchez?
Yes.
Ms. Thomas?
Yes.
Madam President, we need to revisit, since the HR agenda was tabled and discussed in closed session, we need to revisit that. Need a motion to approve the HR agenda, noting for the record that we will. Okay.
Okay. As we stated previously, and we hereby incorporate by reference, 2 of the board members are forced to abstain from their votes due to having relatives working for the district. Ms. Milo's daughter is a child study team secretary, and Mr. Hassan's brother is a custodial staff here. We do need 5 votes in order to pass the HR agenda. We therefore would first ask that the board consider for approval a resolution invoking the doctrine of necessity, the same terms of which were read into the record in the earlier approval of the PEA contract. So I would ask that that motion, a resolution invoking the doctrine of necessity with regard to approving the HR agenda, that motion be made, seconded, and voted on. This is not to approve the agenda. This is to allow the invocation of the doctrine of necessity.
Necessary motion?
I'm sorry, can I get a second? Second by Ms. Couch. Any questions? Roll call, Mr. Tompkins.
Mr. Barkley?
Yes.
Mr. Callaway? Ms. Couch? Ms. Mello?
Yes.
Ms. Sanchez?
Yes.
Ms. Thomas?
Yes.
Now would be a motion to approve the agenda. Again, the 2 board members that would be abstaining, they can state again their reasons for abstaining for the record, just so that this particular motion, the record is clear that they are abstained. The resolution invoking the doctrine of necessity has been approved. And it requires 5 affirmative votes.
Madam President, I need a motion.
Necessary motion?
Can I get a second?
Ms. Couch made the
Any
second.
questions? Roll call, Mr. Tompkins.
Mr. Barkley?
Yes.
Mr. Callaway?
Yes.
Mr. Callaway?
All right.
Again, Mr. Kelly, just state that your, again, state that what your conflict is.
What'd you say? Say that again?
Just state your conflict.
Oh,
Who is
yes.
it who's employed by the district?
Yeah.
Your brother.
Yeah, my brother,
And what is your brother's name?
Saddam Calloway.
Okay.
So, Mr. Callaway, you voted yes. Ms. Couch? Ms. Mello?
Yes.
You need to state your family member.
Oh, Jumaira Mello Calloway.
Ms. Sanchez?
No.
Ms. Thomas?
Yes.
The HR agenda passes. Superintendent and Madam President, this concludes our agenda. Do I have anything else, Jim, before we conclude?
Sure.
Wait. No, to my best of my knowledge, no. Just make sure. No, you get the agenda. Agenda's fine. Doc, I don't know if you have
Yes.
Yes.
Go ahead, Dr. Austin.
Board members, I would, by law, of course, I need to report on the number of instances of harassment and intimidation, bullying, and we had 9 incidents total. 2 were from South Main School, 6 from the middle school, and 1 from the high school, total of 9. And since I'm reporting, I just want to also mention very quickly some of the wonderful things that has been happening. We had, for instance, one young man, and I won't mention his name because we didn't get permission, but I want to congratulate him who has received an athletic scholarship to West Point. We had also one student who has received 14 scholarship offers to colleges, including Rutgers, Boston College, and Syracuse University.
Yes.
And last week there was also representatives from Stanford University who were in the schools looking to see whether or not they can offer some scholarships. So a number of good things happening to many of these students, even with all the other distractions going on. That's all I have right now.
Thank you, Dr. Austin. Is that it, Mr. Tompkins? Mr. Carroll?
That concludes our agenda items, Madam President. The time is now 8:13 p.m.
Can I get a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Necessary motion?
All in favor? Second by Ms. Couch.
Okay, Ms. Scott, second.
All in favor? Aye. None opposed.
All right. The time is actually 8:14. That concludes our board meeting for the May 8, 2018.